the Chief Medical Officer at Rythmia Life Advancement Center here in Costa Rica. They call me Dr. Jeff because I have a doctorate degree in psychology. I also have a master's degree in public health from UCLA. I'm from Los Angeles, but I've been in Costa Rica almost 10 years, loving every minute of it. Are you someone that has depression and you've tried a lot of things to work on it and it's just never quite resolved itself? You've been on meds, you've been in therapy, you've had group therapy, individual therapy, family therapy, you've been on different meds for a long time. You maybe went inpatient for a while, whether that was a drug and alcohol rehab if you had an addiction, or you went to a psychiatric hospital because you had suicidal thoughts or maybe an attempt, or, all this different stuff you've been trying. Maybe you went to some workshops and tried to get past it, and you followed the recommendation of your therapist and you got involved in exercise and you tried to eat right and you got hormone replacement therapy and every other modality possible that exists for depression, and you still feel depressed. Is that you? Well, I have something that might be able to pull you out of it. And the beauty of what I'm going to explain is that it's all done through your own work. And it is something we're having really great success with down here in Costa Rica. And we have a lot of people that identify as having depression prior to coming here. And when we follow up with people, 85% of the guests that said they had depression reported to us that they no longer have the same symptoms. The symptoms are either much lighter or that they are experiencing no symptoms. So that's 6 months after their departure is what they're reporting to us. So obviously, as a person in healthcare for the last 32 years, I found that to be very intriguing. And I looked into it more. And I started doing some digging into what's actually happening when people drink a plant medicine called ayahuasca. And that is what we serve here at Rythmia. And there's 4 nights of ceremonies with ayahuasca. And what happens in those ceremonies for people that have depression is, one common trait of depression is rumination on something negative about the self. So a person with depression will think, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve to be happy, something's wrong with me. And they think about that like all the time. And what happens is it starts to manifest, and they get fired from their job and I'm not good enough, or their spouse leaves them and I don't deserve to be happy. And then they, people abandon them and I'm not lovable and all this. And it starts to kind of prove that it's true to the person, and it creates more and more and more depression. So what happens when you drink ayahuasca and you have the intention that you want to overcome your depression is there's things in the vine component of ayahuasca. Now, ayahuasca are 2 plants blended together. One of them is a vine, and the vine has what are called monoamine oxidase inhibitors. And these monoamine oxidase inhibitors are beta-carboline plant-based alkaloids, which are active ingredients. And they allow the absorption into the body of the other plant's active ingredient, which is dimethyltryptamine. Now, DMT-rich plants are found in all different regions of Latin America and all over the world, to be honest. But shamans that are ayahuasqueros will use a regional plant that has a high DMT content, a leaf-based plant, and use it in the blend with the vine. And so what happens is when you absorb DMT into the body, there's an experience that happens for people where some of the people have visions, and these visions are related to memories that they may have had about oftentimes their childhood, where self-belief systems were being formed. And when you're under 12 years of age and you're in a significant environment of, let's say, abandonment, or maybe some abuse or neglect, or even just confusion, what can happen is the self-belief system can be thrown off. And you can think from childhood experiences that something might be wrong with you. And a 5-year-old can think, if they're being abused or abandoned, they can think that they don't deserve to be happy because they're broken. And that's obviously not an accurate statement, because no 5-year-old is broken. Every 5-year-old is a perfect little angel human being. But when they're around caregivers that are either emotionally unavailable or unable to meet their developmental needs, a child will come up with this sort of logic about themselves in order to survive, because then a child takes their survival into their own hands as best they can, and they try to navigate their world. And that's obviously a tall order for a 5-year-old. And that's what develops someone into being what we call an empath. And that's another discussion. But if you are someone that has treatment resistant depression, or depression that, just isn't going away based on these modalities you've tried in the Western model, when you drink ayahuasca, you see yourself at that age, or you remember yourself at that age, at age 5, 6, 7, when you were in a very formidable time, and you have memories surface that have to do with why you feel that way about yourself. Maybe you had parents that were very loving, but were just busy, and you misunderstood that they didn't care about you. But obviously they very much did. They were just trying to provide, and they just weren't around as much as you needed. So you have this belief system of like, something must be wrong with me because my parents aren't there, connecting with me like I need to. Or maybe you were in an abusive environment, or an abandoning environment, or a dangerous neighborhood environment, and you felt like, something must be wrong with you because, why are your needs not getting met? And again, you have to remember, this is a child like mine, 4 years old, 5, 6. I have a daughter that's 6 right now and a son that's 4, and they don't understand really, completely, what's going on emotionally in these deep ways for them right now. So there's a lot of misunderstanding going on for them. And again, it's normal because they're just children. So what ends up happening in an ayahuasca session at Rythmia is that these emotions and these memories surface. And then you see like, oh, that's why I think that way about myself. That's not true of who I really am. I am a good person. I deserve to be happy. My parents were just unavailable at that one moment. Or I was growing up in a dangerous neighborhood and I felt scared all the time. And why was I scared? And it made me survive. And so I felt like, I had to become this martyr. And so all these sort of self-awareness moments start to surface in an ayahuasca session. And those emotions go along with it. And they come up, and you might start crying, or you might start feeling lots of love, or you might start getting angry, or, whatever it is you've been holding back, and that is like pent up emotional baggage that you've never really dealt with, that comes up and surfaces, and you process it out and you feel it. So then as the ceremony or the ayahuasca session is winding down, your default mode network kind of comes back on, where you have your own more self-awareness about you and like where you're at in your own self-belief system. And the rumination loop is gone. You're no longer thinking you're a bad person, you don't deserve to be happy, that you're not depressed. You've kind of worked yourself through that process. And now you have a new outlook on life, and you feel that you deserve to be happy, or you are a good person. That old belief system was based in some unresolved emotional trauma from childhood, and that's not serving you anymore. You got to get past it. And there's ways to get past it in a Western model, but you tried them all and it just never really connected with you. So this is a way that you can do this. You can do this and get it past you and not have to worry about it. And you can focus on new tools to stay focused and positive, to not feel depressed anymore. You have the momentum after a week at Rythmia to start incorporating these things into your life. So I invite you guys, if you have depression, to seriously think about coming down here, talk to your medical doctor, get off the meds that you're on, call our intake department. They'll explain which ones those are, and they'll help refer you. You have to go talk to your prescribing physician and deal with that. But this is a way to get past depression. I highly recommend it. And I've seen great results as reported from the guests themselves. And we have 14,000 plus alumni through here. So we have a lot of experience. We have a lot of people. Right now, we have a lot of guests here this week. They're seeing the guest speaker, Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup of the Soul. He's a very wonderful man. He's been here a couple different times, and we're always happy to have him. So there's great energy here, great vibes. Welcome. Hopefully you guys can come down here, and I'd love to meet you. So thanks for watching. See you next week. Pura vida.